So we're here with Cody Souza from Hatriot. How you
What's going
doing?
on? Good, man. How are you, brother?
Well, I'm pretty good now. I've been uh, actually thinking of what interview questions to ask you. Sometimes I write questions beforehand, and sometimes I come completely improvisational on it.
We do the same. Me and my brother do a little podcast on Monday nights on Twitch, and that almost seems to be the same service we have as well too. Some episodes are really thought through and really to the T, and then some do we are just shooting it by the hip. It all kind of depends on how busy Hatriot is that week, you know.
Yeah, naturally. Well, I was pretty busy today. I had to go to another city and quit my job
Oh, okay. That sounds like a tough day.
a bit, not very. They already knew it was happening.
Okay, there you go.
All right. But the biggest question that I want to ask you is when you're coming in for an interview, are you already thinking, oh man, they're gonna ask about my father again?
Uh, I mean, it's kind of par for the course, you know, if you're familiar with that gesture. It's gonna happen. I get it. I share the last name as him. We definitely know that nepotism is a thing in the metal scene. Just depends on how you know. I don't think it really exists in us excelling immediately to the top, but I think it definitely is a corner to that. I'm trying to follow my dad's, if not trailblaze his footsteps. You know what I mean? So, getting into the scene ourselves, and it's good. I mean, I think I know what's coming.
Yeah, well, naturally. Quite often it happens that I see an article from Loudwire or something about, oh look, this is the band from Corey Taylor's son or James
Yeah,
Hetfield's son. Look what they're
vended.
playing.
Yeah, exactly. So those guys, yeah, I mean, they kill it, right?
Mm,
But yeah, there's a bunch of us sons are starting to do our thing. You know, we've been doing Hatriot for about 12 years now, but I always also commend, Zion playing with his dad. Shout out the new Soulfly record, Totem.
mm.
And then, his brother, Richie, in the band Insight. They're about to hit the road here. They just had a release, Wake Up Dead, I believe it's called. Um,
Igor
yeah,
Jr. also,
yeah, Igor Jr., right? Exactly. I mean, there's a
who
few
is
of us. Corey
ironically
Taylor's sons,
who is
Clown's son is in
ironically
that band. What's that?
not the son of Igor Cavalera.
Right, right. Yeah. So,
You,
um,
I interrupted you. Were saying something.
no, you're good. I was just saying, I would think I said Sean Cran's son is in Corey Taylor's son band too,
Mm.
right? What is it? James Hetfield's son has like a ska rock program or something. I haven't really heard of it. I've heard of it, but haven't listened. Maybe hard rock, not ska rock, hard rock, I want to say. Yeah, we're starting to come out the woodwork, man. I guess we've been making music this whole time. It's just who wants to look and listen, and where our achievements had gone, you know.
Yeah, right. I mean, come to think of it, Enrique Iglesias is almost more famous than Julio Iglesias. So there is a way.
Right, exactly. That can happen, huh?
Mm. But most of I've also been thinking that most of the time that I hear of these bands, I mean, other than the bands where the dads are actually playing with their sons, like it was with
Yeah.
Patriot or how it is with Soulfly, the only times I hear of them are when there is an article about, oh, look, this is Corey Taylor's son.
Yeah.
And
Uh Continue. Sorry. I didn't
yeah,
know that was question.
I'm not really making a point. I'm just saying this is sort of not kind of the case with Hatriot because it started with your father in the
It
band and
started with
now.
Pops. Yeah. I definitely think we rebranded it. I think Hatriot's at that pinnacle right now where we're ready to take on that next level. We're ready to be a staple piece of heavy metal. You know, we survived the transition from Pops, leaving to me taking over. Definitely took an album to win people's hearts over. And as proud as we were for that album, I believe this album like destroys that one. This one is so fucking heavy. It is like an absolute animal. We're happy to unleash it on the world, and some playlists are picking it up, and it's getting some notice by other artists and other media outlets, and it feels good to be I could say on our way, if I had any fight in me to be like I said, a staple piece in metal for sure.
Right. And uh because you started out singing on you have been doing backing vocals, and just after your father left, you've been actually been doing full-on vocals, and you do have quite similar voices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in some registers. Now on the new album, your register is a bit more varied than it was on the first record with you on the vocals.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much of it do you think is of you continuing this thread of sounding very Exodus-like is actually because, well, I wouldn't want to disappoint my father, but
Yeah.
also how should I say it? It's
And like
sounded
almost like
better
you
in
feel
my
like
head.
you have to do it. No, I know what you mean. Like you feel like you have to do it. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where we're at with Hatriot. Is definitely the last album as far as like brutalness of the music and the vocals was definitely something I wanted to monkey see monkey do, and I have the same throat as him. He's my father, right?
Oh yeah,
So
naturally.
doing a shriek, I naturally sound like him. It just happens. Right now I feel mine are a little more aggressive, and what actually got me to start shrieking was actually Trevor Stern out of the Black Dahlia murder. So I try to imitate Trevor. It doesn't sound like Trevor. It meets between me and Pops, and I'm the middle between the two, and I think that's kind of cool as far as that was originally concerned, right? And then now I've thrown in like my own the practicing of vocals, and going over the Melissa Cross DVDs, and you're practicing my own right, finding my own tone. I mean, many times during the new album, like you said, there's like 5 or 6 different tones I can make that I pull out of my hat. So a lot of that is its own, its own tone in its own right? Being able to make that many different registers, and from growls to screamings to chants to like Zetro like noises. I mean, it's gotta feel like Hatriot at the end of the day. But I think this new album shows definitely me in my own right, kind of making more noises, but he's always going to be there, and it's always going to be a goblin-esque shrieky band, right? That's what
Yeah,
you got
there's
with us.
always the
That's
shadow, the towering figure. It's always gonna be a shadow over
a
hatred.
shrieky. Oh yeah, and those are my favorite noises to make, right? Catch me in another band, I'm probably still going to shriek, right? I mean, I'm a shriek vocalist, a death growler. I can yell, whatever you want me to do, let's go, right? But I feel that this one, there was nothing forced. Hey, like we have to make it sound like this. Like that's what we like it to sound like, and that's what we did. So
yeah, so a lot of it did come out organically rather than out of a sheer force of wanting to break away from what has been done before.
yeah, exactly. And like I said, there's very much elements of the original first two Hatriot, Zetro. We call it Legacy Hatriot, because Legacy, if you're picking on my drift there, Legacy Hatriot songs that, that are still very, the Zetro-y, and we stay true to that. But there's also parts of the new record where it totally goes death metal and growly and chanty, or like kind of techy for a minute. So it definitely has its own rights too.
So stuff that you wouldn't find, for example, on an Exodus album.
I would hope so, right? Under the last 3 albums, I think until this one, I finally fucking heard it stop, was, oh, you guys are just a diet Exodus. Oh, you guys are just Exodus Junior. Oh, you're just, and it's like, that's cool for a little bit, and it'll get you some merit. But at the end of the day, we all are our own musicians, like, yeah, I'm my father's son. I'm 32 years old though. Like I own my own home. Like, there's got to be some strayaways from what they do and what we do, and I think that finally between the last record and this record has come full circle.
Yeah, it is. It does seem like quite an important step, having just listened to these two back to back. You can kind of tell the difference. How did it feel like for you writing these songs?
Like I said, we were happy on these ones, man. It was a very natural process. We were locked in, this home studio that you can see right here, and it was Corona, and we all trusted each other with our inner circles, and it was that serious. And then backing off to less seriousness. We all kind of did our own things, but still constantly met up here at least weekly, if not bi-weekly, or dual weekly for a barbecue and a write session, and we're actually starting to do that again now. Working on the new record, right? Always got to stay busy and hungry. But yeah, it was just us making music that we liked. You know, Costa would lay the foundation. Kevin contributed one song musically there, right? But Costa lays the foundation on 80 to 90% of things, but it's definitely refined by the rest of the band. We'll listen to it like, hey, this isn't it, you know, or we'll get all the way to this. We think the song is in pre-production mode, ready for the studio, ready to fucking go, and we'll redo the whole song, you know, or remodel it, and that constantly happens, but it's always for the better, and it makes product more refined, like I said, and better overall. So yeah, for this album cycle, we had a blast. We had fun all the way from demoing to pre-production to into the studio, to the recent single releases to the album's reception on the world. We you know, it's been a joyous process. We're doing what we love and we're having fun with it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Sorry about that.
yeah, I thought you were gonna show me something interesting.
No, my phone was ringing and my camera is my phone right now.
It happens. I've seen worse. So I want the major reason why I wanted to do this interview was because I have interviewed some musicians, but it's the first time I'm interviewing a musician who is also the son of a famous musician. So it's
Hell
an angle
yeah.
that I haven't quite gotten. So
Nice.
what was it like growing up? Because for most metalheads, the parents are like, "Oh, this is the devil's music. Do not listen to this."
Oh yeah.
But for you, it was the complete opposite.
Yeah, it was the opposite, man. And you know, whether you know, listening to music, metal was always introduced early.
Mhm.
But a lot of people, like, you know, like my father, they may be a fan or a friend of my father's, and I was his son, right? He was just my dad. So there was times where I didn't understand the magnitude of how many people enjoy and love the craft that he does make. And then other times he was the guy fucking yelling at me, you know, where get your fucking homework done and quit bringing home bad grades too, right? He was also a good father, I believe. You know, he tried as hard as he could, and I appreciate that of him, you know. But yeah, metal was always a common staple in the household. Like, yeah, there was no limits to what I could do or listen to or whatever, you know. And it was always young and early. The Slayer CDs, the Exodus CDs, obviously, you know, him practicing or listening to his, or, you know, getting ready for a set, as he still does nowadays, but now he has the luxury of making a playlist, right, and getting ready for a set rather than having to jump CDs and stuff, which was
Much
always
more
fun to
convenient.
watch him do. Yeah, right, much more convenient for him. And I believe there's even a picture I posted on my Instagram a while ago where you can see him singing on the ground to a song, and you can see me playing next to him, which is pretty cool as an infant. But it was just common everyday life for us, man. We loved heavy metal. I don't know, you know, people would think that would make someone demonic or evil or whatever, and it just gave us like more of a spectrum of both sides, because most people were normal Christian household families, or at least good people, right? And we were good people too, but we listened to heavy metal and we wore all black, and you know, we, I don't know, liked our music loud, and it's like it didn't make us any, you know, we were different at times, right? And at other times, the people that were the same as us, we were like you know, it was like family, like all the, like I've been calling them lately the funky uncles, all the Bay Area guys like Chuck Billy and Phil Demmel, and like the people I'd see regularly in my life. They were just Pops' friends, you know. Like, to me, like, I also understood that yes, they did play in bands, and yes, they also held important people's lives, important places in other people's lives. But like I said, he was just Pops and his friends going to the Raider game. Fuck it, you know what I mean? So it was cool. But like I said, most importantly, he was a good father, you know, and still is to this day.
Right.
He tries his best, even though the metal world, which I felt he's trained us for, can be rather grueling at times, you know. So my wife has definitely been prepped, and I have a job that would allow me to, you know, endure the hard times that he endured, and try to learn what I learned from him. You know, I've been calling it, and others have been calling it. I'm trying to be a musician with pedigree, right? You know what I mean? I've seen him do it. I'm just trying to monkey see, monkey do, and evolve it with the times, right? So
Right.
it
Learn
has
from his
advantages, I
mistakes and
think.
so
You
on.
know, yeah. Teach, you know, how to be in bands young and early, and stage presence, and there's a lot that goes into it if you don't know.
Yeah, I can assume. And with touring and so on,
Yeah.
that must take a toll sometimes.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah, I was even getting a hoarse voice on my last tour, and it's like, who else in the world can call their dad and be like, "Hey, pops, I'm starting to get fucking sore. Like, what do you do when that happens?" He's like, "All right, well, just don't press as hard. Have your guy boost your volume." And he's like, drink a lot of water. I had a steamer. He's like, use your steamer and sleep as much as possible. He knows I like to drive because it makes time go by faster. I actually like to drive the van. But he's like, do you need to lay in the back? The other boys need to drive. And the only thing you're going to heal on is sleep, you know? And like, I think for the next 3 days, I just overslept every day. I'd wake up and take a bong rip and then fucking go right back to bed. Like right after waking up, just like wake up, consume water, eat food, and then go right back to sleep. And, you know, it was good to have him there for that. It was pretty fucking cool, you know?
Right. And is there, so you mentioned that there was a lot of music outside of just heavy metal. So would there be some kind of music that if you said, okay, this is what I'm doing now, they'd be like, you're out of the family?
Kind of a little bit, not out of the family. Pop's
Yeah,
always
obviously that's an exaggeration.
yeah,
But
no,
like,
no, you're right. No, and I get that, but I think he was rather embarrassed when I had an Eminem phase. Let's come on, Eminem owned the world there for a minute, and I felt the way his words were so fluid and stuff. It reminded me of times, you know, I don't know, metal can be extreme and fluid, right? You know, I don't know. I found interest in it. I think the whole world did. So I think he was a little embarrassed by the Eminem phase, but I also think he understood
you know,
too. You know,
Eminem is every white guy's first rapper. So
right, exactly, my guy. So you're right there with me. So yeah, that was one he didn't care for. One that I liked but never really got too into was like the dubstep techno movement, you know, that he kind of grunted at that too, just because a lot of my buddies were DJs. So I was going to events to watch them, but a lot of their stuff was very heavy metal influenced. And if you're, you know, you're closer to my age, you can understand that a lot of like the dubstep guys, it literally was just techno heavy metal. You know what I mean? So there was every, you know, what was that joke there? I'm a singer in a band, but I got a dubstep side project. Like everyone in metal had a dubstep side project there for a minute. And I'm one to support my buddies and shit. So
yeah.
not that I was into it too much. But yeah, he grunted at me going to some dubstep shows and stuff like that. But that was just me being young, you know. Really, it's always been heavy metal, hard rock, punk, reggae, ska. You can throw that in there too. Anything that has a band element has always like, you know, tickled my fancy. When it gets to like, you know, pressing space bar, you know, balancing the tempos and fading back and forth, I really don't see what's so hard and what's so amazing about that. It sucks that our sex, drugs, and rock and roll was like techno music in America, sad to say. But you know, be true to what you love and do what you love, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I'd rather piss on electronic music. A lot of it's still very hard to make, but obviously
I
a lot
understand
of
that.
it,
No, in the creation process, I guess I'm talking more about the live show. I understand that they do make their music and everything too, and I'm not dissing the music. My
you
buddy,
know, obviously some of them just hit play on a laptop
right,
while
yeah,
they already have the mix done and
yes,
so on.
correct, sir, correct, sir. There's many talented, more talented than myself, fucking musicians in the EDM world. There's musicians all over the fucking world that all deserve. You know, I'm not a basher and elitist. That's why I'm backing up. I wasn't bashing or elite, but personally, I did not understand, you know, everyone going in front of one. Right. I just like the energy and the vibe of a band element, but I've been to many raves as well, too. So,
Well, if you think you hate dubstep, just imagine how much the British who actually invented dubstep hate American dubstep.
oh no, I can only imagine. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, like you know how much they perverted and made it consumable for like the wide audience.
Right. And then Hollywood's always, or whoever's going to do that, right? LA or New York, or they're always going to squeeze all the money out of everything, right?
Yeah, naturally. So so that was that. And do you remember like a particular moment where you realized just how important your dad and his friends were to the world?
Yeah, I think the Thrash of the Titans event, and I think my dad wasn't even in a band at that time. He was singing with Legacy that night. That was the benefit, and to that people say that was the thrash metal revive. Chuck Billy had been diagnosed with a form of in his chest cancer. I'm not going to say exactly what, it's public knowledge, look it up. And you know, Walter Morgan and a few other productions they put together, the thrash of the Titans. Yeah, and it was like Anthrax, SOD, Exodus, and Legacy was headlining with Pop singing on it. So that was kind of cool, and seeing Pop's command a crowd in front of everybody with Legacy, and he came out for a few songs on Exodus's set too. It really, that sunk into like what the magnitude of that was. And that was just one sold out room, right? But then go later to, Temple of the Damned era stuff, watching him play Vakken and how many fucking people were there. And like, dude, it's just nuts, like total dream setter for one day. So still trying to achieve that dream of getting over to Vakken. Maybe next year we'll see what happens. No, teasing. But I Squirrel, how fast they sold out Commence to Vakken, dude. 80,000 tickets in like 6 hours or something like that. Crazy. But Squirrel, but yeah, no, amazing. Just like I said, watching that and seeing it, I think that's from the Temple of the Damned era. Evolve On was very it was more hands-on, me being a teenager than a baby, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it was around the time that you were a teenager that he was getting back into music, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. And then back out of music too. So
back out of music once the Temple of the Damned era was, and
right, exactly.
So what was it like in between the years between 92 when Force of Habit came out and the Exodus first had a breakup, and in between those, what was it like?
I think though during the first breakup into the reconception before Bailoff passed away, right? Because the reformation actually had Bailoff singing. He passed away, and then Father filled in and went into the Temple of the Damned era. It was just life as we knew it, man. I felt at times, still a heavy metal listening American family. You know what I mean? We got through, we went to school, we were all, public educated. My father went in through a few different kinds of jobs before I could have recollection of memory. As I've always known it, he was a union carpenter. He ended up going to union carpentry school and learned how to do that, and became a journeyman and a foreman doing that. So I think that's what kind of molded my good habits in life, was watching him kind of do the scheduled day to day. And ultimately it was my path on moving forward to open my wife's business, buy my house and my cars and stuff, was also through a union job as well, So, he spent his time fathering us. We went to concerts here and there, Ozfests, one off, one not, Death Angel shows, Testament shows, mostly shows where it was his friends. I definitely think he went to a few shows without me as well too, here and there, right? But yeah, it was just normal everyday living. He kind of got back in the band, and that was kind of shaky for life. I don't know if that was going to be your next question. What happened then? And that was kind of when he went on tour more, which was difficult because we weren't used to that. You know what I mean? As children, him disappearing for 2.5, 3 months, whatever, you know what I mean? Or, with week or a couple of days in between here and there. That was difficult, and, watching that all evolve and stuff. So, but yeah, it was, dude, typical everyday life, man. We were middle class. He had to work. My mom had to work, and they had to figure it out.
Yeah, you figured it out eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. What's your favorite and least favorite Exodus song?
My favorite Exodus song probably is Shroud of Urine. I played that last night on my Twitch channel. I love the I believe in nothing, like that whole scream. I really think that's when Pops kind of harnessed the shriek as well. He always sounded like a goblin, but that was the first time he actually like pressed it into like a shriek. I feel like the production on that, when that hit my ears, it was, to me, it was like so intriguing. I was like, oh, dude, the shrieky part's fucking cool. And then that's kind of how I got into Black Dahlia Murder and stuff moving forward. My least favorite, I mean, there's trillions of songs that like you can just put in a list of. My least favorite of the bigger songs, A Good Day to Die. I don't know, just didn't care for A Good Day to Die off of Force of Habit. I don't know, that's not my favorite Exodus record. So
right. Oh, maybe it is somebody's favorite Exodus.
Oh, I bet it's a lot of people's, right? And I could have gone to like a song You know, well, we can like, I don't know, anything, right? We can pick them random or whatever. I
Mm.
mean, there's a lot of Duke's era songs that I really fucking like too. So
Yeah, don't tell Daddy.
no, he supports it. He likes them too. You know what I mean? Death
Right.
Amphetamine's a fucking banger, you know.
Mm.
Funeral Hymn's a banger.
Yeah,
So
then I'm not really sure how to approach like people asking people about what do they think about people they've been replaced with. So for example, Ozzy never sang a Dio song.
right. There was a wall there, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But obviously Dukes and Pops had to do both. So not questions that I could answer for you. I wouldn't speak, you know, from unless it was from the horse's mouth. So yeah, I mean it's a thing. You could probably, if you ever get Pops in the room again or in the chair, I bet he wouldn't trip on it.
Mhm. Well, if you can get me an interview with him.
Hey, just keep on keeping on, dude. So
Right. Uh, so if you could get any living director to direct a video for a Hatriot song, who would it be?
oh shoot, man. I don't know. Living director, huh?
You
Tyke,
can't get the dead ones to work.
I was gonna say George A. Romero. He could maybe come back as a zombie and direct it as a zombie. No, I'm kidding. I just love zombie TV. You know, zombie shows, zombie television, anything zombie. I eat it up. But Taika Waititi, I feel he's been knocking stuff. Anything he touches
Mhm.
out the park lately. What We Do in the Shadows.
All
Got like the
right.
same colors I got going on behind me, the greens and the purples and shit. So I think that would be good and like a Taika Waititi style fucking What We Do in the Shadows. So
If I get in contact with him, I'll tell him that I
hey,
found the
you
gig.
know what? Put in a good word for me. I trust you, my guy.
Right. I will. I will.
Yeah.
Okay. So you played. You've been. You play thrash metal, and you've been raised around thrash metal. And
hmm
I have to say that out of most metal genres, this is kind of around the mid part for me, where there are
Yeah.
genres that I love a lot more. But thrash metal is something that I find very serviceable at times,
Yeah.
rather than just something that I'm crazy about.
Yeah.
And also, I've been through phases where I looked down on it as like very too simple.
At times, right? Until you see what Costa Varvatakis puts out or like watch Gary Holt.
Yeah, right.
I get you. You know, I was dude, I have my first Thrasher jacket finally building now that I'm building slowly as it goes, right? It's my stage jacket. And I was always a Thrasher. It was always there. But like one thing I'm trying to really eat up now. It's a charcuterie board, man. It's all good. Like different things at different times for different moods, for different reasons. Like there's so many different kinds of metal. It's like one genre. You can be a metal fan and not have to leave the genre and find your crying in the dark songs. You can find your, go into industrial if you're looking for banging music. You know what I mean? You can
Mm,
go, you could do anything with it. I love pirate metal, but give me some fucking Hailstorm. You know what I mean? Growing up, I was more of a melodic death metal kid. I loved Gothenburg. I loved anything that came out of Gothenburg. I got into deathcore because it was very melodic, right? Loved anything deathcore. All Shall Perish, like all the bands that come with that. You know what I mean? As Blood Runs Black, like
yeah, all
so.
the MySpace era.
Dude, MySpace era was the shit, and we were like 15 years old, so that was like the world to us at the time.
Mm,
Even my dad at first, I'll fucking put him on blast. Like, I don't get a lot of this shit, and like, see, you being an old man, just like your parents, not understanding this shit, and like, as times have come, I've understood more different types of metal, and so has he. He understands like, hey, this is our fucking genre. We got to stay tight to each other. Recently there's no room for metal elitism. We gotta enjoy it all and band. Black metal bands got to tour with death metal bands, and death metal bands got to tour with thrash metal bands, and like it's got to have to happen. And the hardcore bands are sneaking in, and you can even slip a punk band in here too, right? It's all outcast music. It's all too loud to be playing in the garage with the door up and no one bitch. You know what I mean? Like that kind of that era and that spectrum. So I get what you mean though. Like I said, I went through many stages to where I loved power metal, my Dragon Force phase, and everything that came with Halloween and all that. You know what I mean? Like,
right, right.
going through it. So,
Mhm. But I can't think of really any genre that's had like an entire decade where it was basically down in the dirt. Like between '92 and 2002, there was barely any thrash metal
yeah,
album that you can remember. And then
yeah,
it's had a comeback around 2004, kind of around when Exodus was coming back.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of newer bands. So if you think about neo thrash, this is basically where it started to peak again.
Oh yeah, the Ex Mortises, the Bonded by
Yeah.
Bloods,
All
the
the newer
Havocs,
bands,
the right, the
and especially around,
Warbringers.
yeah, especially around 2010, it was exploding municipal waste and so on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, could you?
it, and I can't think of any other genre that's had like such a pit. Obviously, thrash metal and glam metal, there were genres of the 80s that were kind of put in the dirt by grunge, but
Yeah.
I can't think of any other glam metal band now than than
Steel
I can
Panther.
Steel
Steel
Panther.
Panther.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one. Dude, there's an awesome glam metal band. Shout out to a band called Saber. They
Mhm.
just recently went on tour in the US with Screamer, similar names, but Saber out of LA, dude, they fucking kick ass. Check them out for sure.
All
So,
right.
but yeah, there's not many. No, glam metal's kind of down. Has black metal ever been up? You know what I mean? Other than like popular black metal. Am I an asshole saying that? I'm just kidding. But black metal has always been there, constantly underground. So maybe I
Mhm.
shouldn't say that, right? Yeah, I don't know. You're kind of right. It's weird. Like the whole era died. Like the era either evolved into grunge or it evolved into groove, right? It went to the two G's, you know, and like that's where you got your Machine Heads and right Pantera start having their kind of ups, and you know the bands that did survive, the Soulflies and the Sepulturas, and you know all coming through that era. So it's almost like if groove didn't have its own genre, it's kind of evolved thrash, and the other bands are kind of taking some hiatuses, right?
Mhm.
But open to interpretation, right?
Right. And then uh, a lot of the thrash metal is a bit conservative, not politically, but in the sense that I can't really think of much developments in the sounds of thrash in the past 20 years. So a lot of
Yeah.
whenever I hear a thrash album, I can kind of pinpoint exactly what it would sound like if it had a production of the 80s, and it would
Right.
completely fit in the 80s. So the production side is most of where you can feel it's in the current times. So if, even stuff like blackened trash or death trash, it still
Right.
sounds
Yeah.
like
It
something
definitely
that
doesn't.
could be in the 90s or the 80s.
Right. And everyone wants Bonded by Blood to come back, dude. It's not coming back. They redid it and everyone didn't want it anyways, right? So it's like, you know, that vocal James Hetfield vocals recorded from fucking 10 miles away, fucking, you know, sound like it just sounds like he's screaming down a hallway, you know, it's crazy. Yeah, you can definitely tell on productions nowadays. And I believe, you know, we're doing that too. It's like, you know, thrash can, like you said, can be so repetitive and over and whatnot. And so, you know, adding some deathcore elements, adding some melodic death metal elements, you know, that's where we kind of pride ourselves, along with new production, right? And different vocal styles, and keep it fresh. Let's add some new shit to it. So
Mhm. Right. And how do you think thrash metal is going to keep going from now on? Because I feel like for the past 5 years or more, there's been a bit of a tired. People are getting a bit tired of the retro trash sound.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, though. At the same time, I mean, Ex Mortis kind of gets thrown in that same pit, though. I feel they're very, you know, death metal, and they're like
Mhm.
neoclassical, right? But like, you got your Havocs that I feel are bigger than they've ever been, right? I think Warbringer is fucking doing great things. You know what I mean? So I believe that there is room for that genre, and as for the rest of us that like, you know, we definitely still love to represent the thrash metal sound, but just are changing a little bit here and there. But
Mhm.
are very so much a thrash death band. The word thrash is going to be in our title no matter what, right? So, um, you know, those that enjoy it and can continue to do it are where they're at, right? Like my father is what 58, so in 12 years he will be 70. You know what I mean? Let's throw the future. Who's going to be making thrash? Who's going to be, you know, creating that noise? Who's going to, you know, I'd love to see EXO turn an album out at 70. That'd be fucking kick ass. But
That'd be fun to see.
right. So, and that's a long time in the future, but you know, just kind of putting it on a scale for everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw Judas Priest live this year, and Rob Halford is 70, and
Crazy,
he's
right? I think
still,
Pop's got it too. Hell
yeah,
yeah.
maybe. I mean, I can't imagine how, for example, Corpse Grinder will sound like when he's 70.
Oh, fucking crazy, right? And I think he's a little younger than my father, so we got some
So
time, but
he's younger a bit,
yeah.
but at some point in our lives, we will have to come to terms with the fact that all these people are getting old, potentially
Right.
dying.
Yeah. It's just and not even like the passing. Let's not even talk about that, but just putting the mic down, right? Putting whatever down, making sure health is a priority and everything else. But a lot of these guys go for fucking look at Lemmy, look at fucking Dio. You know what I mean? So rock and roll will keep you alive on the endoskeleton, right?
Right. I mean, we're still in the times where the first metal album, Black Sabbath, all the people who were on it, they're still alive.
Yeah, exactly.
We're still in the time where but there are bands out there that can celebrate 50th anniversary of their albums, like
Yeah.
Purple, Uriah Heep, and so on.
Yeah.
That might not be the case a few years from now.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be some time.
Yeah, it's gonna be sometimes. So because I don't have Zoom Pro, we only have less than 3 minutes.
I was gonna
left.
say something, but I didn't know that if we both knew or I needed to say something.
Yeah, well,
so.
maybe it would be just more fun if you just completely ignore it and see where it cuts off.
Oh shit, whatever you want to do, my brother. So,
but also I'm out of questions.
Oh, you're good, man. So,
right.
Well, I appreciate you for having me on, man. Like I said, everyone that is, out here for Metal Storm, check out the Veil of Shadows. Check out our video for Horns and Halos. Definitely more a deathcore-esque thrash song. And it just shows definitely the evolution and the direction of Hatriot. Still a bunch of death metal tunes, thrasher tunes, all over the album. So check out the Veil of Shadows, guys. Radu, I appreciate you for having me on and taking your time to spread the word of Hatriot, getting helping me get what we do best and what we love to do out there for everybody,
Right. And now, last question.
Mhm.
Nearly 10 years on, what do you think of the cover art of Heroes of Origin?
Oh man. I had no say in the band at that point at all at that time. So here, let me at least defend it. The thought process on that album was no one had the band on their albums anymore, as that was a thing of the 80s. If we're going to talk back and remember the Kiss records and everyone's on the front and stuff like that. So it was an angle my pops and at the time management was trying to swing to see if that retro hammer would hit or not. Ultimately, Mark DeVito did that, who worked with Motorhead many a times and was a well-known artist. So it wasn't like, we had some shit like, oh, you guys learned Photoshop, and it's like, it was a little but I'll stand by it for what it is. So
right. So we have less than a minute. It can cut off at any point. Anything else?
Do or die. It's like Russian roulette, right? Holy shit.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm good, brother. I appreciate you. Like I said, man, you get some sleep after this. I can only imagine you're tired.
I can't wait. I have to go to the gym in the morning.
Oh, really? Yeah. Get on your gym session. You be good, my friend. Be good in your life. Hope everything's good with the new job. And check up with me, man. Let me know when this posts and we'll share it for sure. So
bye.
All right, buddy. Later.